hotties, by the time that you are listening to this, Sam will have been away for a whole week. How is that possible? How does this even happen? But 1 week down from 10 is the way that I'm thinking about it. So I shall be on the weekly countdown, maybe not on the podcast, maybe I will, maybe I'll tell you about it, maybe I'll be like, oh my goodness, we're at week 5 already. But it's more likely that, 2 weeks before I'll be like, I'm getting so excited about it, I'm decorating the house. That is one of my favorite things to do. But at the time of listening, he will have officially been gone for a week. So assume that if I have not been online, I have been eating Ben & Jerry's, I have been eating at our house out of chocolate, and inevitably eating the, vast amount of food that Sam is bound to have left. One of the great things about being with somebody like Sam is that he cooks really well, and I do not. I don't cook at all. I'm just really bad at it. It's not a core skill of mine. In fact, when Sam and I met, one of the dishes that I had actually made, prepared and eaten with friends was pasta with pickled onions. So cooking, not my forte. Never come round to my house for dinner unless Sam is here, because he is the cook. He is the man behind the oven, and is an incredible chef. So that is what I will have been doing in preparation or just after he leaves. So if you haven't seen me on social media and you're thinking, I don't know where Jess has gone, like what's happened to her, that is what I've been doing. Eating a mountain of food, going to the gym, and just having a few days to hermit and get used to being back with just Max. All right, so if you do want to reach out, you are more than welcome. You can send us an email, you can say hi, you can be like, hey Jess, what's your favorite flavor of Ben & Jerry's this week? And I will personally respond to every single one. But today I wanted to dig into something that's quite important and that actually has been coming up quite a lot recently, just with people writing in and asking questions, which I love, by the way. So thank you if you are writing in, if you are asking questions. I do try and get around to all of them on the podcast, if not via email. And one of the questions that's been coming up a lot is this idea of difficult clients / difficult sales processes. And so one of the questions that is forever in my inbox is, how can I make this client buy? How can I get this person over the line? And then, inevitably the writer of the email will go into detail about, I've got the sales process going on and this person's being really challenging or really difficult, or worse, I've got this client and they are being really challenging and really difficult, and perhaps they're not paying on time, perhaps they're not doing something they're supposed to be doing. And I think it's such an unfortunate situation. And so what I want to do today is just walk you through, how can you identify if somebody is going to be a pain right from the beginning, and how can you avoid that situation or change it? And also, how can you tell if somebody is genuinely heart in the right place, just going through a really hard time? Because I think we also have to manage this during a sales process. Sometimes it is or isn't right for that person, and we have the responsibility to tell them too. And equally, as they become a client, sometimes things go really well for them, sometimes things don't, and we have that responsibility to make sure that actually we're giving 100% to them as well. So that's what we're going to be talking today. How can you convert difficult clients, or do you actually really want to? Should you be bothering and wasting your time? So firstly, what are some of the warning signs? I say so, I've got this little thing coming into my head. It's like, warning. But you do get those moments with potential clients, even with clients that you already have, who are a challenge. And some of the warning signs, let's just be very objective about this, because there are early warning signs, and sometimes we choose to ignore them and proceed. And that's kind of what today's episode is about. It's, yes, we can see the warning signs, yes, we can understand them. How do we make that decision whether we want to take somebody into that process on a continual basis? Okay, so how do we know if somebody's going to be a pain? There are a few reasons, both in your face, let's say, and subtle. And so some of the more in your face reasons and some of the things that we will see most commonly if we know that somebody's going to be difficult or has a higher potential to be a difficult client are that they are a nightmare during the sales process. Okay, now this can show up in many different ways. It can show up or manifest itself in somebody always cancelling and rescheduling discovery calls. Like, hands up, who has had those people? I'm putting my hand up. You can't see it, but I am. You know, you've had those people who are like, I really want to work with you. I loved your latest post, or I thought your latest blog was great, or podcast episode, whatever. I really, really want to get on the phone with you. And then they'll schedule a call, and then it will be like 10 minutes before the call and they cancel it. And then they'll reschedule it again, and then again 10 minutes before they'll cancel it. Or they'll ask you to do really annoying things. They'll be like, oh, can you just do this discovery call at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday? No, I cannot, because by that time I will be like everybody else, sitting on Netflix watching Dynasty. So you get those people who it can manifest itself right from the beginning in them being challenging. Now, obviously, you're going to get some people who this is a symptom of them being difficult, and you're going to get other people who genuinely, like, life is busy at the moment and it's unexpectedly so, and they perhaps can't control what is currently going on in their diary. But here's the thing: if somebody's really serious about working with you, they'll be open and transparent and say, look, I'm so sorry that I've had to cancel my call. Insert XYZ reason here. It's really not like me. I would suggest, that we catch up in a week or 2 weeks when I know things are going to be less busy, or when this emergency isn't going to be affecting me. Is that okay? I would so much rather somebody came back and said, yeah, do you know what? I just need 2 weeks to get my ish together, and then I'm going to be ready. And I'd be like, okay, cool. No worries. Like, that's fine. And that is commitment. Okay. And that's what we call a micro commitment. I'm going to talk about that a bit later, but that's what we call a micro commitment, is, that yes to something or making a decision. The people who are going to be the pains are the people who constantly reschedule, who constantly last minute changing things, because guess what? If they act like it during the sales process, they are going to be like that as a client. They're going to do everything last minute. They're going to cancel everything last minute. They're going to be the person who, their contract is supposed to be for 6 weeks and it ends up going for a year because they just don't ever attend any of their calls. So, watch out for that symptom. If they are somebody who reschedules or cancels a lot during the sales process, it's a red flag. Second thing is a refusal to make any kind of decision. Okay, this is a big one, especially if you are in a service-based industry. If you're in a product-based industry, right? Somebody not making a decision on whether they want to eat that vitamin every day, or, use that. I'm looking at some kind of weird weight thing that Sam bought me before he went away. I don't really know what it's called, but some kind of weird weight thing. Like, it's my choice. If I don't use it, that is on me. But if you're in a service-based industry, particularly something like coaching or web design or graphic design, where you have to wait on the client, then refusal to make any kind of decision can be really, really challenging. It can be an absolute nightmare for you. And again, it's not something that we want. So as you're going through the sales process, or even the kind of, if they've signed up and it's like a pre-work questionnaire, anything like that, watch out for people who refuse to make decisions. Whether that decision is a refusal to be able to make a decision about whether or not they're definitely going to be on that discovery call, or whether the decision that they're avoiding is the refusal to look at the copy and give a good idea or a good overview of feedback that they want to give you, whether it's that you're working on a web design project and they've got a refusal in terms of getting back their images to you or their content on time. All of these little things are things that you want to watch out for, because they can be symptoms of clients that are going to be challenging or going to need to be managed differently. You want to see that. You want to know that early, because it's all very well and good. Like, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily the easiest person to work with in some respects. There are some things that I do not do well. Management is one of those things. I'm not a very good manager. I used to be, when I was in corporate and people targeted me on being a good manager. I was, and I was very team focused, and I was very, we're all doing this together. Now I'm kind of at the point in my life where I'm like, I don't want to have to always tell people to take initiative. Like, do the job or don't do the job. It's on you. Ultimately, I'm not going to pay you forever if you don't do the job you're paid for. So, management is not a skill of mine. It's a reason that I brought people into my business who were either incredibly self-motivated and didn't require managing, or bringing in people who can help to manage other people in my business in the right way, in a way that makes them feel good and feel valued, right? So if you have somebody who has this abject refusal to make a decision or who struggles with decision making, that is going to be somebody who's a challenging client. And whilst those challenging clients, like myself, can be rewarding to work with in some aspects, maybe it's that they pay you really well because they know that they're a bit of a pain, or whether it's just that actually they have this kind of sense of nervousness around entering into a new contract. Perhaps they've been burnt before, perhaps they're quite a needy client, perhaps they don't want to make any decisions in case they get it wrong and they need some extra reassurance. You know, it's not to say don't work with challenging clients, it's to say these are the signs, and you may need to act differently during the sales process, or you may need to act differently during actually working with them to make sure that you have a really good experience, and that's both of you having a really good experience. The other thing that is always a red flag to me is people who lack action. And this is a really serious one. This is my number one bugbear. This is my one big reason that I turn people away. It's my one big reason that I've fired clients in the past. If you are not an action taker, it's very difficult to work with you on any level, on anything. And it's also very difficult. Do I say this? How controversial do we go on a Monday? It's also very difficult for that person to be successful. And that is the bottom line. I think we do have to say it, right? We have to be out there. Now, there is a difference between a person who thinks they're an action taker and is taking the wrong action, which is many, many people in the online space. So if it's you, don't worry, it was me too. You know, it's not something to be embarrassed or ashamed or worried about. But there are people out there who, just like me, for like 3 months of my business, I sat there and I was doing all this work. I was always on. I was so busy all the time, I was doing everything. Wasn't actually achieving that much, but I was really, really busy. And then, you know, there are the people who just avoid action. They know what to do. They're given a strategy. They're told, yes, go and do this, go buy this course, go book this call, go sign this client, go ask for recommendations, go do X, Y, Z. And they don't. Now, you get two camps here. You get the people who genuinely are nervous or worried and may need extra reassurance, and that is fine. Again, if you have a coach or anybody that you are working with and they tell you that extra reassurance is not okay, you should really, really reconsider working with that person. It's absolutely your coach's job to help you make the right decisions for you. So if you are nervous about making decisions, if you are nervous about taking action, absolutely they need to be there for you and saying, yes, I really believe you can do this. Yes, I think this is the right strategy for you. How can I support you in actually going ahead and implementing? If, however, and this is the more common thing that we see, but that people don't like to say because it's not popular to admit that you are a bit of a lazy tyke sometimes, you just don't take action because you can't be bothered, because you want to prioritize other things, because, you know, your day got really busy suddenly and whatever, that you're not an action taker. And that client isn't an action taker. And if they demonstrate that, so if they come on a discovery call and they say, I've had 5 different coaches and none of them worked, red flag. Ask them immediately, okay, what action did they get you to take? What did you actually end up doing? And I bet you my last Rolo that they will tell you, oh yeah, well, I did a bit of it, but then it just didn't seem to be working. Or, oh yeah, I tried it for a week, or, well, I was just too busy, or something. There will always be a reason why they didn't actually execute to their full ability. And again, it can come from a place of fear. You know, there's nothing shameful about it. It's just that it's an incredibly big red flag when it comes to working with people. If they don't do the work, they are not going to get the results. In any industry, in health, in fitness, in web design, in, you know, being a great client for a VA, in coaching, in any of those areas, if you do not take action, you will not get results. You know, and equally, if you're somebody who is controlled by, or if your client is somebody who's controlled by emotion as opposed to being able to see past the kind of, when I say emotion, I mean fear. Okay, because everyone gets scared about things. Everyone, you know, I get scared about stuff that my coach tells me to do all the time, and I spend most of my coaching calls being like, "Oh, really? You really have to do that? Oh, okay. That makes me feel uncomfortable." And she just kind of sits there and goes, "Yeah, well, cool. Get on with it, or don't. Up to you." And it is, and ultimately it is up to me. And likewise with your clients, they can choose to get stuck in the fear or the fear emotion, or they can choose to do. They can choose to take action. They can choose to make the reality that they want happen. And that's what you need to be looking out for. So, you know, these are kind of the common warning signs that somebody's going to be a pain. These are the ones that everybody can spot. You know, if they're a nightmare during the sales process, you're going to have to pull them through the entire thing. If they don't want to make any decisions, then they're never going to want to make any decisions. And that's going to be challenging for both of you. And then finally, if they avoid action, okay? Including things like micro commitments. So like we talked about earlier, micro commitments are these smaller yes decisions. So it might not be, yes, I'm going to pay you. That's not a micro decision. That's a big decision. But it might be, yes, I'm going to hop on another call with you. Or yes, absolutely, I'd love to have that follow-up discovery call. Or yes, I'd love to see your email proposal. Or yes, I'm going to go ahead and book in that first session kind of thing. There are all of these little micro commitments that are really important to people, and that actually signify that that person is willing and is a willing participant, is somebody who is going to be proactive. In fact, one of the things that I really love about the people that tend to be my audience is that they are active participants in their own reality. What I mean by that is that, you guys tend not to sit back and go, oh, life happened, and so it's life's fault that I didn't get what I wanted, or my business didn't grow in the way that I wanted. My audience generally are very, very good at these micro commitments. So it's why, when I say, okay, we'd love it, or I would love it if you guys could leave a review for the podcast if you've really enjoyed it, people do. It's a micro commitment, right? It's why, when we opened up applications for Evolve, and I said, right, if you're interested in Evolve, go and apply here. The micro commitment was going, well, it wasn't really a micro commitment. If any of you saw the application, it was a big commitment to fill that out, to really think honestly about where your business was, about what you wanted from the program, about what you wanted from coaching with me, all of those kinds of things, micro commitments. And my audience are really, really good at it. And it means that when I get on discovery calls, and it's rarer and rarer these days that I do get on discovery calls, because generally, my audience are at a maturity level, and I don't mean that in terms of age, but generally my audience are at a maturity level, as in their relationship with me, where they already know, yes, I want to work with Jess, yes, this offer is right for me, or yes, I want to work with Jess, but no, that offer isn't the right fit for me right now. And so it is getting rarer and rarer that I'm sitting on discovery calls and doing that kind of stuff, but I still do it. I still have discovery calls. I still talk to people. And again, it's about those micro commitments, isn't it? What micro commitments are you making to yourself that week? Sometimes, and I think we look at the big picture so often that we forget what we're going to have to do to get there. And I know I can get like this. I can look at the big picture and actually get really put off reaching the goal, because some weeks, like this week inevitably will be, I'm going to be sat there. I'm not going to be wanting to work. I'm going to be sat there like, oh, I really miss Sam. Oh, it's so sad. I'm going to be looking at the pictures of us together in my living room like a complete loser, sat there going, oh, I just really miss him. I will be boring my friends and my mum and like everybody that I can get on the phone realistically to tears talking about it. Be like, it's so long. I can't believe it's only been a week. It should be like already have been 4 weeks, and then I feel fine. Which will be a complete lie, by the way. Just an FYI. 4 weeks in, still feels like crap. Deployments do not get easier, turns out. But it's one of those things, isn't it? We all have the ability to get caught up in what is going on, and I know certainly during this week, I'm not going to feel like being like, oh, I'm going to go and take over the world. I'm going to launch a new program. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But there are things that I have to do because that's what keeps the lights on, right? And the reality is, and I love this, I saw it the other day on a BuzzFeed article about, it was basically good things that humans have done that are actually bad things that impacted people in a good way. And there was this guy who used to work for a supermarket, and at the end of every shift, they were supposed to look at all the food that was like out of date or, hit its best before date, and just, report it to the office and say, oh, we've had to throw this much stock away. And he used to go and take his lot to the food charity bin and he would put it in there and he wouldn't tell the company. And so it was a bad thing because he wasn't telling the company, but it was a good thing because, you know, all these people getting the food. And the quote from him was, you know, I wanted to do it because I figured that all of us are only a few paychecks away from having to go to a food bank. And it's so right. You know, so when people come to me and they say, Jess, how do you get, like, how do I stay motivated? How do you do these things? I'm like, well, you have to keep the lights on. You have to pay the electric bill. You have to pay the mortgage. You have to do these things. And so actually, when you stretch yourself, when you make an investment, when you do all these things, what you're committing to is a new level of being, a new level of operating in your business and with yourself. And so that means that you have to start taking action at that level, that you have to start making decisions at that level, that you have to really be open and transparent about how it feels. And those are signs of willing participant clients, right? People who are transparent, people who make quick decisions, who are happy to adapt and change, who take action immediately. Those are our ideal clients. Those are the ones that everyone's like, I want those people. I want the people who are going to get results. So stop looking and stop spending time on the people we know won't. Okay, now earlier I said to you, you know, you get to make the decision. You do, ultimately, you get to make the decision about who you take into your business, what kind of clients. But if you have somebody who is looking like they're going to be a challenge from the beginning, you've got two options. One, you can decide that you want to work with them and you can very clearly set the boundary. And sometimes this is a necessary option. Okay, so let's caveat this with the fact that sometimes this is necessary. Sometimes we just have to do the thing. Sometimes we have to pay the bills and we have to take that non-ideal client, and it happens to all of us. So you know what, let's not blame anybody here or go, oh, you shouldn't do that. Yes, we all get it. Sometimes you end up working with somebody who's a complete pain in the backside because you need to pay the bills. That's reality. You know, anyone who says that that's not, I think, is a giant fibber. But there are better ways of managing it than just going along and not having any boundaries with them and letting them dictate what's going to happen. So if you have somebody at the beginning who know this person's going to be a bit of a challenge, then openly and transparently during that sales process, let them know, set that boundary. What are you going to be willing to do? How will you keep them accountable? What is this process going to look like for them? Are they going to be able to kind of win you over numerous times when they want to change their calls and do whatever they want, kind of thing? So set that boundary firmly. And some people actually really respond, well, most people respond really well to having those boundaries set. In either they'll go, yes, I really need that. I recognize that I can be a bit of a challenge, or I can be really flaky, or I need extra accountability and support, etc., etc., etc. And so they will want that. That's what they want to happen. Other people will not, okay? So there are some people you will say, look, I really want to work with you, but I'll be honest, I have some red flags. My red flags here are that you have worked with X amount of coaches and that you don't seem to have done the work, or that you, and again, you can put these as bluntly as you like. Everyone who's thinking about booking a discovery call with me ever now is like, oh my God, it's just going to ask how many coaches I've had. But yeah, you can say, you can give them the red flags. Look, you know, I'm a bit concerned about your timeframes for this. It doesn't seem realistic, especially if you're a VA or a project manager or something like that. Please tell clients, for the love of all things wine related, what is realistic. They don't know. So tell them, you know, actually that's a really unrealistic expectation for me to finish your website. I can't get it done in 3 days after you've paid. That's not going to happen. You know, be honest about what the red flags are and set the boundary and say, so look, you know, I would love to work with you. These are the red flags that concern me. If, however, we're able to agree mutually beneficial timelines, get payment up front, perhaps work in an intensive way, you know, organize all of your calls and book them out at the beginning so that you don't have the opportunity to flake out on them, etc., then I'd love to work with you. Does that work for you? And you're being really honest. And sometimes they're going to say, yep, absolutely, that's what I need. And other times they're going to say, no, that's not right. It doesn't sound like me. Blah, blah, blah. They might get a bit upset. And it's then up to you whether you choose to go ahead with that process or not. Okay. But you have to set that boundary. You have to be clear about what that boundary is. Explain very clearly, very firmly what you're actually willing to do for them. and with them, and don't be afraid to say no and turn them away to look for other opportunities. Yes, we all have to take non-ideal clients sometimes, we do. But if there is an opportunity to work with somebody who is a better fit, who is more interested and invested in what they are doing, who is genuinely committed, always take it, okay? And equally, you know, use this episode to think about what you are like and how you show up. I mean, it's always interesting for me in sales that we don't self-reflect as much as we should or could. And I think it's always quite interesting because I will often get people, and I could do a whole nother episode about this, so I promise I'm not gonna go on too long, but we often say to people, oh, well, I'm really fed up of clients who don't pay on time. I'm really fed up of clients who are flaky. I'm really fed up of clients who walk all over me. I'm really fed up of clients who don't listen to my boundaries. I'm really fed up of clients who X, Y, Z. Now, if you say that, so if you're somebody who's like, I'm fed up of getting ghosted on discovery calls, or I'm fed up of, you know, clients who just don't show up for their calls and then don't even apologize, whatever that looks like for you, take a good hard look at yourself first. How do you show up? Are you flaky? Honestly, like, it's cool if you are. Again, this is not a, oh my God, I need to beat myself up for this exercise here, but this is a moment of clarity of, okay, how do I actually show up? And as my friend Heather Gray would say, you know, how do I operate in the world? Who am I showing the world that I am? How am I showing up in the way that I act? And this is the thing, if you are somebody who regularly wants to walk over other people's boundaries, if you're somebody who, you know, always flakes on a program, if you're somebody who doesn't really take that much action, if you're somebody who doesn't pay your bills on time, if you're somebody who, all these kinds of things, expect it to come back. No, not in a weird, like, you know, I'm not a law of attraction person, okay? I don't know about it enough to be one. I'm not expert in it, and I don't necessarily go in for all of that. As we all know, I'm not particularly woo, but I would always say in sales specifically, you get what you are, okay? And that is, it's a common sales thing. It's something that's very well known within the sales world. If you act in a certain way, you will attract that. If you are a wide boy, hard salesperson that loves to objection handle by being like, but just go do this, go do that, go do this, guess what? You're going to get clients who have a lot of objections, right? You're going to get clients who want a lot of refunds. If you are somebody who, you know, regularly has buyer's remorse and says yes to things and then midway through says no, guess what you're going to get? A bunch of people who get buyer's remorse, because subconsciously or unconsciously, the way that we act determines what we expect and what we tolerate from other people, and it shows them what they can do with us, okay? And that's what we want to change. So this is just my quiet warning to you. It may not be the case. Do not take this as, oh my God, loads of my discovery calls are flaked recently, clearly I'm a flaky person. But look at it honestly. Look at whether you are taking all the action that you could be. Look at whether you are doing all the work that you could be. And if you're not, change that. Go out, change that, create a different habit, and you will start to see a different caliber of clients, okay? That's the easiest way to do it. The way to attract a different caliber of clients is to become the person who accepts nothing less than the behavior that they deserve. I hope you've enjoyed that episode. I've actually really enjoyed recording this one. It's been a blast. So I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed recording it. We've got some excellent episodes coming up. We've got a really, really cool guest episode at the end of this week, which is a particularly interesting one with a great tagline. So make sure that you check that out over on Friday. And I will see you next Monday with a juicy episode about pricing. So if you've been struggling with pricing, check in. Next Monday is the big day. We're doing it right here on the Smart Leaders Self podcast. I will see you on Friday's episode. And if you have enjoyed today's and you haven't left a review on iTunes yet, or even if you have, then make sure that you head over there, leave a review so that other people can find us. Have an amazing week.